War is destructive, and it's destructive when a government don't want to invest in making others happy. They want to invest in making others misery for their gains. And why? Because they can manipulate it to their whim to do so. When you invest in the Ukraine war, instead of filling that infamous Rachel from accounts 22 billion black hole, they go and give it to Ukraine instead of putting it in the dying towns and cities in the UK. They'd rather see the UK suffer, remove its high streets and its identity to go abroad. It basically removes the identity completely away from the home country when they go abroad to fight in another. But at the same time, they restrict us by giving higher rents, less standard of living, and more expensive goods to buy in the shops. So I'm just reading the news headlines today. This is the government who makes criminals out of innocent people. In terms of the post office victims, and today Sir Alan Bates tells fellow post office victims sue the government. At the same time, the government are arresting people on social media, up to 30 people a day, through freedom of speech posts they're posting online. What is going on? Let's talk about the economy for a second to really talk through what is going on, because it's very clear that when the government go to war and they are having issues at home, it's because the government aren't addressing those issues or investing. And then that same old conversation. My thing is that if we wouldn't have unemployment if jobs were that easy to come by in the first place for long-term stability. This is, I think, the number one problem. And I think it's to do with identity and identity politics and the woke culture. I myself am LGBT, I'm not trans, but it is what it is. And I think there's a problem when it comes to these issues, and it's diverse from the conversations that we're having is grating away from what was previously long term under the old sovereign to the more short term issues that we are having, because we have become a more globally based society, especially when it comes to jobs in the force. We are now seeing a call out for non-white people to join the force. And I mean, we have built the UK on a system of borrowed wealth from taking from other countries when we have gone to war. That's been the bread and butter of the British for a very long time. And this, I think, is what is being kind of stopped and having to look elsewhere. And I think what is elsewhere are these digital assets of talking through the headlines. Just having a more broader conversation with people who want to have an opinion about these issues that we are finding in society. And I think a lot of the times, for me, I started to realise something was happening when I was applying for work, and I still am all the time applying for work. I can never find work. So I'm always reliant on, well, before I got kicked out last year, my family helped me a lot, but now they don't, so I've gone back to study and I'm not sure how it's going to go, but that's my foundation that I want to keep for myself for the future. I'm 36, so owning a home is another matter, which I don't think I will own, so I'll have to keep renting, which again is almost like a poverty thing because it's short term. And I come from a wealthy family, they're middle class working, and my extended family are very successful individuals. And why is it okay for them to, not be in employment but be self-employed when I never was able to? It was something frowned upon for me, and I think there's been a communication problem that has happened for a long time with them. They've not understood who I am and what I'm about, and because how could they, when their generation, they've not gone through what we millennials and Gen Zers have gone through or are going through, because there is a huge change that is currently happening. And maybe this is why I am drawn to talking about it in this way, because there are real problems that not a lot of people know how to navigate, and maybe that is what I can do to help others who may be in a similar position like me, to help them. Excuse me. Oh, that's hay fever, I think. I keep sneezing. Oh. So there's a problem here when it comes to salaries. Like I was saying, salaries were not salaries were the same level for a long time without change or growth, I think earlier than 2016. And I realised this when I was constantly looking through the job postings, because it didn't matter what area I was interested in, they were always the same stagnating salaries. And I thought that was curious. At the same time, you could see more and more people flood out from London looking for stability. And I think now when we see these little towns and villages suffer in their high streets and the properties around it go into dire poverty, it's because the government have taken that wealth from that city to go, from those towns and villages, to go into the mega cities to invest that wealth. But where are they going with that wealth when there's a so-called £22 billion black hole? And I think we've got to stop listening to this rhetoric and start addressing these issues, because there is a very serious matter going on when it comes to the spending habits. Because why isn't anything working? Why are mortgages going up? Why are people having to buy second properties and then charge far more than the average rent? Why are people having to pay up front 3 months rent and then another month for a refundable deposit, and the other 3 months paid in advance will not be returned? Because it's unregulated. It's not regulated to the renter or lodger perspective, and there are too many gaps that are systemic in the nature of this country that it is all kind of going in and sinking what has not been working. And when you have a case like the post office scandal, let's just get that. So, like the post office scandal, with him suing the government, then you have to realise what this war is really about. Is the government going in and kind of hiding themselves in other countries, whilst the pound does good over there, they can gain over their own, but it's not without consequence to us. And for me, I think self-employment, but the right kind of self-employment, is important to outrun what is happening. Because if you think about it, if we are becoming a global society, then an island nation will only send itself to collapse, because it cannot sustain that impact. And I think this is what we are seeing happen, and we are sleepwalking into it, watching it unfold. And this is why I still go into crypto tokens, and this is a crypto token because it's a very different way of marketing. It's new original content, and it's invested in content through artists' work. And when you have these scenarios unfolding in real time, not everyone can see their way forward, but maybe it's for those individuals who can, to guide others that are wanting to awaken in the same way, understand things a bit better. And maybe this is me trying to talk about it in that way, however broad, however rambling I come across. It's about transparency and to help others through the best of themselves, through the worst of themselves to the best of themselves together. And I think this is why, as a collective, we have to come together to realise what is happening, because the government will not be telling us, because of course they will want their bread and butter for themselves and hence the salaries and the quiet 20% salary rise that the SNP's got. And it's, you know, we have to keep understanding, why are they doing these things? And I think it's that questioning that we are realising through their actions why they are trying to stop us. Is because they are wanting to gain one up on us before we realise what exactly is happening. Slowly but surely, they are putting their boots in the wrong shoes. I mean, their feet in the wrong shoes. Maybe it's a cold I've got, I don't know. And filling it up in sinking sand or whatever. But at the same time, they think they're going to collapse, or without us knowing, will be when the majority of people will wake up to see exactly what is happening with them. And this is why I believe crypto will be the next part of the economic equation that's unraveling right now when it comes to these things. And it's up to us to realise what is unique in crypto that is pioneering the digital frontier currency, when we are all trying to sustain and go viral on the net, online, through having these political topics of discussions or ways to get out of the economy before it drowns us. And you don't want to be in that position. You want to ride it. You want to go along with it to get the opportunity, the prosperity that will come after it, because it's coming. And it's going to be things like this that are going to pursue that wealth transfer, you know, that's only just at the beginning, and let's continue discussing in another video. Hopefully it's not too rambled on, and yeah, maybe a bit of hay fever, so apologies for sneezing, is what it is. But if you'd like to listen to more, please subscribe, and I'll hopefully look forward to another similar discussion. Thank you for your time.